don't think she'll be. Uh, Could you call somebody out of order if we haven't heard yet? Okay. And is she with us right now? Is she ready to go? Okay. Are we ready for the jury? Y'all ready? Okay, let's get the jury in, and if you want to go ahead and be calling her. He's been messing with.
No, Your Honor.
I do.
Spell your first last name for the court down to the mic, please.
Karen Sullivan, KarenSullivan.
Say good afternoon, Dr. Sullivan.
Good afternoon.
Could you tell the jurors how you are currently employed?
I'm the Chief Medical Examiner for the Fulton County Medical Examiner's Office here in Atlanta.
And can you tell the jurors how long have you worked within the Fulton County Medical Examiner's Office?
Part-time beginning in July of 2003 till October 2007, and then full-time since October 2007.
And you said you are the Chief Medical Examiner. Can you explain to the jurors how long you've been the Chief?
Since spring of 2021.
And can you tell the jurors a little bit about what the Fulton County Medical Examiner's Office does?
We determine cause and manner of death of people who die of sudden, unexpected, or unexplained causes, people who die as a result of injury, either self-inflicted or inflicted by another person.
And as a part of that, can you tell the jurors what is an autopsy?
An autopsy is both an external and an internal examination of a person's body to determine the presence of natural disease processes or injuries to determine the cause and manner of death.
And what you just described, can you tell the jurors in relation to that, what is forensic pathology?
Well, forensic pathology is specifically using autopsies or external examinations to determine a person's cause and manner of death under those circumstances I mentioned a moment ago.
And can you explain to the jurors a little bit about your educational background and your training that's allowed you to work within the Fulton County Medical Examiner's Office and as the Chief Medical Examiner?
I got my undergraduate degree from the University of North Carolina at Chapel Hill and a master's degree in anatomy from the University of Georgia. And after getting my master's degree, I was a high school teacher here in Fulton County for about 5.5 years before going to medical school at Morehouse School of Medicine here in Atlanta. And then after going to Morehouse and graduating, then I did a residency in pathology at Emory University, and then an additional year of forensic pathology fellowship training at the Fulton County Medical Examiner's Office in conjunction with Emory.
And in the time that you just described and throughout your career, can you explain to the jurors approximately how many autopsies have you performed in relation to your career?
I've either performed myself or supervised pathology residents and fellows, approximately 4,000 autopsies.
And can you tell the jurors how long again have you been, have you had the title of Chief Medical Examiner?
Chief Medical Examiner since spring of 2021.
And at this time, Your Honor, the state is going to tender Dr. Karen Sullivan as an expert in forensic pathology.
All right, she's so qualified and may testify as such.
Now, Dr. Sullivan, you explained a little while ago about what an autopsy is and how it's a external and internal examination of a deceased person. Can you tell the jurors when you are doing an autopsy, is it part of your standard practice and procedure to photograph the autopsy that you're performing?
Yes, it is.
And can you tell the jurors why that's so important and why you do it?
Well, we have either a dedicated medical legal photographer or one of the forensic pathology technicians who are also cross-trained in photography to photograph the steps of the autopsy so that another person, another doctor who examines the photographs and the report can make their own opinion as to a person's cause and manner of death.
And in relation to or in conjunction with that, as you're performing an autopsy on someone, are you also, I guess, memorializing your findings and conclusions in a report?
Yes, a report is prepared after, a preliminary report is prepared after the autopsy is complete. And then once the pathologist is ready to finalize the report, they'll review the photographs and other studies associated with the autopsy in order to electronically finalize the case.
And specifically as it relates to the Fulton County Medical Examiner's Office, how you've described the photographs and the memorializing of your findings and conclusions in a report. Can you tell the jurors after an autopsy has been completed, do you as well, along with your fellow medical examiners who work at the Fulton County Medical Examiner's Office, kind of do a roundtable or review of the photographs like you've described, as well as specifically hear your findings that everyone kind of signs off on?
Yes.
Okay, and can you tell the jurors why you do that and why that's so important as it relates to the procedures that you do as it relates to your position at the Fulton County ME's office?
Well, for forensic pathology in general, it's always best practice to get a consensus agreement on the injuries that are being seen or the findings in other studies such as toxicology results. And so in our office, each morning as part of our morning report, the previous day's cases are reviewed, both the information surrounding the incident details and the autopsy photographs and how the case will be signed out. In addition, for any cases in our office where the manner of death is homicide or undetermined, another doctor or doctors will peer review the case before it's electronically finalized.
Now, you just mentioned cause and manner of death. Can you explain to the jurors what is the term cause of death mean?
Cause of death just means what happened to the person that caused them to die. So for example, if someone had pneumonia, their cause of death would be pneumonia. If they had a heart attack, their cause of death would be a myocardial infarction or heart attack. If they shot themselves in the head, their cause of death would be a gunshot wound of the head.
And in conjunction with that, can you tell the jurors what is or what does the term manner of death mean?
Well, manner of death means how did the cause of death come about? And so in Georgia, the manners of death that the medical examiners have to choose from are natural, meaning that the person's cause of death is due to some natural disease process. For example, a person with pneumonia or the person that had a heart attack. Another manner of death will be accident. For example, injuries incurred during a car accident, or an elderly person that falls and breaks their hip, or someone who dies of a drug overdose. Those manners, the manner of death in those cases would be accident. The manner of death would be suicide if someone intentionally did an act that caused their own death. It would be homicide if someone else intentionally caused the death of another person. And then there are some cases where we cannot decide between manners of death. There are competing manners of death. So you might wonder, is this an accident versus a suicide? Is this a suicide versus a homicide? You don't have enough information, or the condition of the body precludes making a definitive determination. Then the manner of death in those cases will be undetermined.
Now, I want to direct your attention to February 24th of 2019. Did you have the occasion to perform an autopsy on 15-year-old Jamari Holmes?
I'm sorry, what was the date that you said again?
February 24th of 2019.
Yes, I did.
And during that autopsy of Jamari Holmes, can you tell the jurors, were photographs taken during the autopsy procedures?
Yes,
And at the conclusion of the autopsy, did you memorialize your findings and conclusions in a report like you've described here today?
yes, I did.
Okay. And I want to show you what's been marked as States Exhibits 25 NN through 29 NN. And in looking at States Exhibits, we'll start with States Exhibit 25 NN through 28 NN. Can you tell the jurors, do you recognize those exhibits?
I do.
And can you tell the jurors how you recognize them and what they are?
They're copies of photographs that were taken during Mr. Holmes's autopsy. Some of the photographs have a small ruler in them that has Mr. Holmes's autopsy or Fulton County Medical Examiner's case number on it.
And in States Exhibit 29 NN, can you tell the jurors, do you recognize that exhibit?
I do.
And how do you recognize it?
It's a copy of Mr. Holmes's autopsy report that I completed.
Okay. And in the photographs you've described in States Exhibits 25 NN through 28 NN, do they fairly and accurately depict the photos that were taken during the autopsy of Jamari Holmes on February 24th of 2019?
They do.
And is States Exhibit 29 NN a fair and accurate copy of the report that you authored in relation to the autopsy performed on Mr. Holmes back on February 24th of 2019?
It is.
Your Honor, at this time, the state would tender what's been marked as States Exhibits 25 NN through 29 NN.
Those are admitted.
Now, Dr. Sullivan, you just mentioned a unique case number or a case number that was associated with this case in relation to the death of 15-year-old Mr. Holmes. Can you tell the jurors how that case number is specifically assigned, not only to this case, but all the cases that you perform autopsies on?
Well, in our office, we have a number of medical legal death investigators who take death calls either from hospitals where someone has died or from police officers at a scene of death. And when the investigator takes the case, then they assign sequentially a case number to it. For example, the first case of this year, 2024, would have been 2024-0001. Then the next case that was reported was 2. Then the next case it would have been 3. So Mr. Holmes's case number was 2019-0370. So his death was number 370 reported in the year 2019.
Now, in relation to the work you do when performing an autopsy, can you tell the jurors what soot is and how it is important or related to your performing an autopsy and the conclusions that you make?
Well, when a gun is fired, the gunpowder burns, and the gas that's produced is what propels the bullet down the muzzle of the gun and out of the barrel. The burnt gunpowder can produce a fine ash like you see in the fireplace after you burn wood in the wintertime. That ash can deposit on the skin. That ash would be called soot. You can see soot on a person's body, assuming there's nothing between the muzzle of the gun and the person who is being shot, up to about 12 inches. After about 12 inches, then that soot doesn't have enough